3 months after leaving Egypt, the Israelites came to Mount Sinai. This was where God had first spoken to Moses from the burning bush, and now he was going to give them his laws. Exodus 19:3-6 records God's message. Then Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him from the mountain and said, "This is what you are to say to the descendants of Jacob, and what you are to tell the people of Israel. You yourselves have seen what I did to Egypt, and how I carried you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now if you obey me fully and keep my covenant, then out of all nations you will be my treasured possession. Although the whole earth is mine, you will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation." The people agreed to obey God, so he told them to prepare for something amazing. For 3 days they washed their clothes and got ready. On the third day, something incredible happened. Exodus 19:16-18 describes it. On the morning of the third day, there was thunder and lightning, with a thick cloud over the mountain and a very loud trumpet blast. Everyone in the camp trembled. Then Moses led the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Mount Sinai was covered with smoke, because the Lord descended on it in fire. The smoke billowed up from it, like smoke from a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled violently. God called Moses up the mountain and gave him the 10 Commandments. Exodus 21:17 lists these basic rules for living. Worship only God. Don't make idols. Don't misuse God's name. Keep the Sabbath day holy. Honor your parents. Don't murder. Don't commit adultery. Don't steal. Don't lie about others. And don't want what belongs to someone else. But God gave them much more than just 10 rules. He gave detailed laws about how to treat servants, what to do if someone gets hurt, how to handle property disputes, and many other practical matters for daily life. The people were so afraid of God's power that they asked Moses to be the one to speak with God and then tell them what he said. God also gave Moses detailed plans for building a special tent called the tabernacle, where he would live among his people. Exodus 25:8-9 shows God's purpose. "Then have them make a sanctuary for me, and I will dwell among them. Make this tabernacle and all its furnishings exactly like the pattern I will show you." The tabernacle was beautiful and complex. It had an outer courtyard with a bronze altar for sacrifices and a basin for washing. Inside the tent were 2 rooms, the holy place with a golden lampstand, a table for special bread, and an altar for burning incense, and the most holy place with the Ark of the Covenant where God's presence would dwell. God chose Moses' brother Aaron and his sons to be priests who would offer sacrifices and take care of the tabernacle. He gave detailed instructions about their special clothes, how they should be ordained, and what sacrifices they should offer for different situations. While Moses was on the mountain receiving God's laws, something terrible happened in the camp. Below, Moses had been gone for 40 days, and the people got impatient. Exodus 32:1 shows what they did. When the people saw that Moses was so long in coming down from the mountain, they gathered around Aaron and said, "Come, make us gods who will go before us. As for this fellow Moses who brought us up out of Egypt, we don't know what has happened to him." Aaron should have refused, but instead he gave in to their demands. Exodus 32:2-4 records his terrible decision. Aaron answered them, "Take off the gold earrings that your wives, your sons, and your daughters are wearing, and bring them to me." So all the people took off their earrings and brought them to Aaron. He took what they handed him and made it into an idol cast in the shape of a calf, fashioning it with a tool. Then they said, "These are your gods, Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt." The people began worshipping this golden calf and having wild parties, completely forgetting about the God who had just rescued them from Egypt. Up on the mountain, God told Moses what was happening and was so angry he wanted to destroy the whole nation and start over with just Moses. But Moses pleaded for the people, reminding God of his promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Exodus 32:14 tells us, "Then the Lord relented and did not bring on his people the disaster he had threatened." However, Moses was about to see for himself how bad things had gotten. Exodus 32:19-20 describes what happened when Moses came down the mountain. When Moses approached the camp and saw the calf and the dancing, his anger burned and he threw the tablets out of his hands, breaking them to pieces at the foot of the mountain. And he took the calf the people had made and burned it in the fire. Then he ground it to powder, scattered it on the water, and made the Israelites drink it. Moses was furious with Aaron for leading the people into sin. He called for everyone who was still loyal to God to come to him, and the tribe of Levi responded. Moses ordered them to go through the camp and execute the worst offenders. About 3,000 people died that day because of their rebellion. Moses went back up the mountain to ask God to forgive the people. God agreed to continue leading them, but said his angel would go with them instead of his personal presence. This made Moses very sad, and he pleaded with God not to abandon them. Exodus 33:15-16 shows Moses' request. Then Moses said to him, "If your presence does not go with us, do not send us up from here. How will anyone know that you are pleased with me and with your people unless you go with us? What else will distinguish me and your people from all the other people on the face of the earth?" God was moved by Moses' intercession and agreed to go with them personally. He also made new stone tablets to replace the ones Moses had broken, and Moses spent another 40 days on the mountain. When he came down this time, his face was shining so brightly from being in God's presence that he had to wear a veil. From Mount Sinai, the Israelites traveled toward the Promised Land. When they reached its border, Moses sent 12 spies to explore the land and bring back a report. Numbers 13:27-28 shows what they found. They gave Moses this account: "We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is its fruit, but the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw descendants of Anak there." 10 of the spies were afraid and said it would be impossible to conquer the land. Only Joshua and Caleb trusted that God would help them win. Numbers 14:69 records their encouraging words. Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had explored the land, tore their clothes and said to the entire Israelite assembly, "The land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land, a land flowing with milk and honey, and will give it to us. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not be afraid of the people of the land, because we will devour them. Their protection is gone, but the Lord is with us. Do not be afraid of them." But the people believed the fearful report instead of trusting God. They even talked about choosing a new leader and going back to Egypt. This made God very angry. Numbers 14:22-23 shows his judgment. "Not one of them, who saw my glory and the signs I performed in Egypt and in the wilderness, but who disobeyed me and tested me 10 times. Not one of them will ever see the land I promised on oath to their ancestors. No one who has treated me with contempt will ever see it." God sentenced the entire adult generation to wander in the desert for 40 years until they all died. Only Joshua and Caleb would be allowed to enter the Promised Land because they had faith in God. Numbers 14:34 explains the punishment. "For 40 years, 1 year for each of the 40 days you explored the land, you will suffer for your sins and know what it is like to have me against you." During those 40 years, the people continued to complain and rebel. Once they grumbled about the manna God provided every day, so God sent poisonous snakes among them. When people were dying from snake bites, they confessed their sin. Numbers 21:8-9 tells us God's solution. The Lord said to Moses, "Make a snake and put it up on a pole. Anyone who is bitten can look at it and live. So Moses made a bronze snake and put it up on a pole. Then, when anyone was bitten by a snake and looked at the bronze snake, they lived. Another time, some men named Korah, Dathan, and Abiram rebelled against Moses' leadership and claimed they should be able to offer sacrifices too. God opened up the earth and swallowed them alive, then sent fire to consume 250 men who had joined their rebellion. Even Moses made a mistake that cost him dearly. When the people complained about not having water, God told Moses to speak to a rock, and it would give water. But Moses was angry with the people and struck the rock twice with his staff instead of just speaking to it. Numbers 20, 10, 12 records this incident. He and Aaron gathered the assembly together in front of the rock, and Moses said to them, "Listen, you rebels, must we bring you water out of this rock?" Then Moses raised his arm and struck the rock twice with his staff. Water gushed out, and the community and their livestock drank. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Because you did not trust in me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this community into the land I give them." Because of this disobedience, Moses would not be allowed to enter the promised land either. While the Israelites were at Mount Sinai, God gave them detailed laws about how to worship him and live as his holy people. The book of Leviticus contains many of these laws, especially about the sacrificial system. Leviticus 1:1-2 shows how these laws were given. The Lord called to Moses and spoke to him from the tent of meeting. He said, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when anyone among you brings an offering to the Lord, bring as your offering an animal from either the herd or the flock." God established 5 main types of sacrifices. The burnt offering was completely burned up to show total dedication to God. The grain offering was made from flour, oil, and incense to thank God for his provision. The fellowship offering was partially eaten by the person making the sacrifice to celebrate peace with God. The sin offering was for unintentional sins, and the guilt offering was for specific wrongs that needed to be made right.